What happens when we die? Is there an afterlife? Do we go to heaven? Or even worse, hell? Can we communicate with the dead? And if we can, should we? Let's find out.
What's up, guys? Welcome to episode 37 of San Pedro Paranormal. I'm here as always with my co-host Carlos. You know, the very talented and grumpy technician.
yes, I'm very grumpy right now. But luckily, I have an elixir.
Yeah.
Brewery West.
Yeah.
Brewery West.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, guys. Welcome. Today's episode, as the title says, it's gonna be life after death, and that's because we're actually going to be talking about some hauntings that have happened after either murder, suicide, you know, stuff like that. And we do have a very special guest that's going to be telling an experience he had, a local here from San Pedro. But yeah, anyways, Carlos, why don't we start with you know, the usual, how our week was. And I know, you know, I understand why you're not, you know, kind of moody because of this heat. Just like me, because right now this garage, I don't know if you guys can see this through the video, but my shirt's kind of getting, you know, a little sweaty because it's hot in here. It's hot in here.
And I'm battling in this studio with these fans right now blowing all over the place, and my notes are flapping all over the area here, and I gotta find a weight to put this thing down.
Yeah, dude, and then that big fireplace behind you, dude. Turn that off.
Oh, that? Oh, you gotta talk to that guy back there. He's the one in charge.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to move. He wants to stay around.
Yeah, he wants to stick around.
He has unfinished business.
Yeah, Carlos. So how's everything? Everything good? Everything good this week? Better than last week? I hope.
About the same. Yeah, same. Yeah. So, but it's good. It's good. I'm very, very happy.
That's good. That's good. I'm complaining about the heat, but I'm drinking coffee. Anyways, yeah. So you know what, Carlos, you were telling me that you actually have you talked to one of your friends, right? And you actually got a good story. You know that's gonna go fit perfectly into today's episode. Yeah. So I mean, hey Carlos, what do you think? Why do you think it is that you know, sometimes when things happen like murders and stuff like that, why do the spirits get stuck here? What's your belief on that?
An episode on the afterlife, and we explained a little bit on there what happens, and it was, I believe we talked about how sometimes people die and they have unfinished business. Sometimes it's because they want to say something to a relative that's still alive and they passed on. Usually it's something about caring, I love you, or sometimes it's because these people, they don't know they're dead. They stick around this time because they don't know. They died in shock. Something probably horrible has happened to them during their time of death, and they are now stuck here on this earth until they are reminded or told that they have to move on.
Yeah. And I mean, it's like in a lot of shows. I know you guys have watched the shows like I think there's one called Medium and another one where they have all these psychics, and these psychics, what they do, these mediums, they try to help spirits, I guess, you know, go to that next dimension, that next either heaven, you know, or whatever people believe. But they do mention that they also have that belief that sometimes the person died in a certain way that it was kind of like, let's say a murder, you know, somebody comes behind you and just kills you and you don't even know, you know, and it's almost like your spirit or your soul continues living, and it thinks it's, you know, it's still here with us, but when in fact, you know, the person already died. But yeah, so I mean, I believe the same thing, you know. I think your audio went out, Carlos. Are you okay?
I'm here.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so
Yeah.
I have that same belief. I think what happens is that sometimes it's something so, you know, such a big impact that, or, you know, Carlos, there's something of that happens with, you know, when there's an accident, or something really bad happens, and your mind kind of just blocks it away, like it didn't happen. So I think sometimes, let's say it's a violent murder. I think sometimes your own mind kind of tries to delete that, whatever happened. And I believe that's the same thing that happens to these spirits. They go through this big tragedy, and that's why when the spirit's still here, they don't remember that one, that moment when they were murdered. But
Yeah, we have something like that as we live. We have accidents, and sometimes these large accidents, whether we take a fall and we break a couple of bones, the mind kind of prevents you from remembering certain things to keep you from going into shock over and over again. It's something that I guess we've evolved with. But in the afterlife, that's a totally different thing. It's just something very mysterious.
Yeah. So that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking that let's say I'm walking down the street and I get attacked, and at that moment when it's happening, I'm still alive. So I think by the point where I'm ready to pass on, I think the mind's already blocking all that. So then when I do pass on, I have no recollection of what just happened, and I'm kind of still stuck in that that part behind that where I still think everything's cool. So I mean, that's just what I think. I don't know. What do I know?
Yeah, and there's a good example of this in the movie Ghost, where Patrick Swayze is with Demi Moore, and they're walking. They're a couple, and they're walking through some dark alleyway, and some guy comes in and he wants to mug them. He pulls out a gun, and eventually there's a struggle, and Patrick Swayze gets shot. Well, you don't hear that, which you don't see that. Which we do hear is a gunshot, right? The gunshot goes off. Next scene is the mugger running away, and Patrick Swayze running after him. I'm gonna get you! I'm gonna get you! And you hear the footsteps of Patrick Swayze and everything else, and the guy gets away. So Patrick Swayze's character turns back around, and then he realizes his body's right there. He's calling out his wife and everything else, but then he eventually sees his spirit. He's like, oh my god!
Yeah.
And he's just like in shock.
Yeah, he realizes he's passed on.
Yeah. After moments later.
Yeah. So I mean, I do think that maybe that could be the case, where, and like you said too, Carlos, I think sometimes there's something that you feel is really important to you that you have to do before you move on. Like you said, a message either to a family member or sometimes, there's been cases where certain mediums have done, because sometimes, do you know this, Carlos, that the police or detectives actually try to get help from mediums sometimes to try to figure out unsolved murders and stuff. So they get mediums to try to help them to see if they could find out who committed the crime and stuff. So yeah. So I mean, that's another case too, where I do believe that sometimes these spirits, they haven't moved on because they want to tell, like, if the person that murdered them got away, they want to tell who it is, or give some kind of clue so that person could pay for their actions.
There's this show called Hannibal. It's like the prequel to the Hannibal series, and it stars I forget his name. He's a very famous actor, and there's this younger actor named his character's name is Will, and he works for the police department, and he has that gift. So the cops or the police use him to go from site to site where there's been a murder, and has this power, this gift, where he's like a medium, and he actually acts out the murderer's move step by step, and the cops use that to find whoever killed that person or get any clues to finding that person that killed that individual.
Yeah. That
was there, found dead.
Yeah. That's crazy. Yeah, but anyways, you know what? Why don't we right here? We're gonna go ahead and cut to the interview that I did with our guest, Matthew. So let's go ahead and check this out, and we'll be right back after this. Anyways, Matthew, why don't we start with you telling us a little bit about yourself? Like, how did you get into the whole paranormal thing, or when was your first experience actually?
Oh, goodness, that was ages ago, my friend. I was around 5 or 6, and being a Catholic growing up, parents, they always have you do prayers before going to sleep to kind of help you get, stay safe. And so my mom would always help us, or would always have us in the room doing prayers before we go to bed. And as soon as and there was one night I was a kid, and I was facing towards my bedroom door, and I happened to see like a weird shadow. And being a kid, you always see weird things just because your mind is still developing, and so I thought it was just something, just my mind was playing a trick. But the fact that it was happening night after night for a good like week and a half, I started paying attention, and then that's when I started to notice that it was changing every single night over a period of time. So the first time I noticed it was where I was laying in bed one night and I happened to see fingers wrapping around a wall, and then that was it. And then the next day it was the same thing. Well, over a week, it went from having fingers coming around the wall to a head popping out, and then it would just stare into my bedroom, and then that was it. And then a week later, same thing. It would do the same thing every single night at the same time. It would be right after my mom would leave from my bedroom after we had said prayers, every single night. And so finally got to the point to where there was one night where the hands went around the corner of the wall, the head popped out, and then it retracted, and then all of a sudden you can see as if it like forced itself out of the wall, and it stood there in my doorway, and then walked into my bedroom, and then it walked over to me and just stood over me and looked at me for a good like 10 seconds and then disappeared. And it did that for about 3 days, and then that's when I got freaked out. And I mean, I was already freaking out to begin with, and I was kind of like those kids like you see in scary movies where they hide under the covers. That's what I did, thinking it would go away. And when I would peek back over, I would still see him there, and it can still see the guy's face. And I'm, and this was well over 20 years ago.
Are you sure it wasn't what's his name? What's the guy that comes out in the movie Die Hard?
Oh.
That totally reminded me of that scene in The Sixth Sense where the kid's like this with the blankets talking to.
Oh yeah. No, thank goodness it wasn't him.
So you said how old were you when this happened?
5 or 6.
5 or 6. Okay.
Yeah, and so I told my mom what had happened, what was going on, and she said, it's not going to hurt you. It hasn't hurt you yet, so we know it's not going to hurt you. And so finally, after I told her what had happened the previous night with the guy actually going by my bed, that's when she said, enough is enough. Let's call your cousins, because they're very sensitive to the other side. Mm-hmm. So they came down, and my mom recreated the whole scenario again, from the prayers to saying goodnight, sweet dreams, all that stuff. And about 10 minutes later, they came out pale white, just like that guitar behind you. And and they were freaked. Like, you can see on their face, they were terrified, petrified. Uh-huh. And so we asked them, like, well, what'd you see? And they described it. It was the same thing I had seen before, but I didn't tell them. But it was a gentleman, big, broad shoulders, about 6'3", 6'4", dark brown hair, messy, overalls. That one of them was clipped in. One of them was like slung over his shoulder, and then he had one of those old overall, not overall, one of those old farm flannel T-shirts.
Oh, okay.
And it was a little bit ripped, and so, but that's what they saw as well. And
so this is something that runs in the family. It's not just you.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where like my sister has seen some stuff. My mom has seen some stuff. Yeah, I guess you can say it's a family trait.
Yeah. So I mean, to have something like this happen, especially when you're 5 years old, that must have been pretty. I mean, no wonder it's still stuck in your head. Because you know what, I do remember my first, the first time that I saw something. I must have been, I want to say around the same age, maybe a little older, maybe 6 or 7. And what happened to me was I was actually sleep. My bed used to be right next to the wall, so I would sleep like with the facing the wall. And I woke up in the middle of the night because I felt like something was watching me. And when I opened my eyes, I was afraid. So I started opening real slowly, and I could see like a light coming from the wall. And when I finally like opened them enough so I could see, it was a face in the wall, just like looking at me, and it smiled.
Right.
And now that I'm older, when I think back to it, it wasn't a scary face. But when I was a kid, it freaked me out. I closed my eyes and I was just like, you know what, just go away, go away. But yeah, so I mean, I understand the whole, what an impact it could have on me as a kid. But
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. You know what, guys? The reason that Matthew contacted me was because the house he's living in now, which is here in San Pedro, right? He was having some stuff happen there, so he wanted to share this information. And what's crazy about this was that after he shared this information for me, I actually ended up calling someone that I knew that had some information on that property. And I'm not gonna say their name if they want to remain anonymous. We're not gonna say the address, right? Your address, and we're not gonna say the name of the spirit that we believe we communicated with. But anyway, so I contact this person and they tell me, you know what, something happened in that house a long time ago. I believe it was, what was it, like 30 years ago or 20 something years ago?
25 plus.
Yeah. So this person ended up telling me that someone had gotten murdered there. So right away, I called Matthew. I was excited. I mean, I shouldn't have been. I don't want to say excited, but I was pumped. I called Matthew and I'm like, you know what? Someone was killed there. And the thing is, Matthew you had told me, right, that before I contacted this person, Matthew told me that this entity was actually had talked to you, right? It whispered to you, and it was a female. Well, you know what? Why don't you tell the story? You lived it. You lived it. So let's start when you barely move into the house. What was the first thing that happened in this house?
Okay. So the very first thing that happened in this house was, it was about 9 o'clock in the morning on a weekend, and I was in that state where you're somewhat asleep and awake, but you can still vividly tell what's around you. And out of nowhere, like the room was silent, no noise was around. My wife was out of the house, and all of a sudden, in this ear right here on my right ear, I heard a "Good morning, how are you?" And it was very distinct to say "Good morning, how are you?" So the syllables were broken up, and it was very distinct that I could tell that it was a lady's voice, and it was about like a mid to early 30s, I guess you can take.
Sound like a young woman.
And yeah, very much so. And it was and the thing about it was I wasn't afraid, but it was more inviting than terrified. And it felt very mother-like, because you know how mothers, when they say "Good morning, how are you?" in the very morning, it's very, I'm great, and so that's how it felt that morning. Was it weird? Of course. I mean, to have to know the voices that are already in your house, to not know what that one is, and it comes out of nowhere. It's bizarre. Trust, it really is, but it was very comforting.
So was that the first time? I know you've had many different experiences. Was that the first time you actually heard like a voice talking to you?
No.
Oh, okay.
That was but in this house it was.
Okay.
Yeah. So I've the one with the gentleman when I was a younger kid. I heard voices in that house all the time. Oh, okay. But it was more of just like a huffing sound.
Okay.
In a sense.
So is there stuff happening all the time, or is it just something that maybe it gaps between like maybe weeks or months?
It gaps. It's not. There was one week where it was very active, where I would see orbs. I heard footsteps. I heard what else did I hear? I heard pretty much that. and then yeah, it was pretty active for a solid week at one point, and then but before that it was module. It would go once in a while, but for one week it was pretty steady, and then ever since then it's been pretty moderate, but it's not as active as that one week.
Oh, okay. So I mean, what was it that like because I was talking to my co-host Carlos, how it was that I don't know, sometimes it seems like stuff just like I've mentioned before, like I believe things happen for a reason, but it seems like everything like a domino effect where like you had this experience, then you contacted me, then I found this out, and then I contacted this person and they found this out, and then it just everything just like falls into place. So why was it that you wanted to share this? I mean, is it just something?
I mean, it's just one of those things. It's fascinating, and it's one of those things where I mean, I know a lot of people don't really believe in this kind of thing. I mean, I get it. I mean, I totally understand. But once it happens to you, it's just there's really no reason if you can't really like declassify it or debunk it, then it is what it is.
Yeah.
And the fact that I've been seeing this stuff since I was 5, like off and on, and it's I know what it was when it was. So just because of how I felt, what I heard, and
so what was the? I know you've seen the orbs there. You've heard the whispers, and you had told me something about like a stomping too, right? That you would hear a stomping.
Yeah. So one evening, I was up one evening watching TV, and I in the spot I'm actually sitting at right now is where I heard the stomping, and it was very, very distinct, and it's one of those where I was actually able to recreate the sound, and it was in a very isolated area, and so I knew it wasn't an earthquake just because it didn't shake the rest of the house what we have. It shook the table, the TV stand and our coffee table, and that was it, just because of the area it was in. But it sounded like as if someone hit their heel on the ground and then stomped like with their flat foot. No. And then after that is when you would hear like maybe 2 or 3 footsteps, and then it would disappear. And that happened twice. And then the second time I did it, and actually I was actually halfway to the restroom, and I heard it, and it actually started walking towards me to the kitchen, and then it stopped, right where the kitchen and the living room meet. So
that's crazy. And I mean, I know that when we barely started talking, I believe when I called you back, I'm not sure if it was the second time, because I know that when you contacted me, we ended up calling. I ended up calling you like 4 or 5 times. Because all that stuff was popping out. But I think in one of the times that I called you, you said something that, like when you answered the phone, like there was a noise or something. You're like, whoa, like did you just hear that or something? Or am I remembering wrong? I'm not sure.
I think so.
But yeah. So anyways, after I spoke to Matthew, and I found out this information about somebody being murdered in the house. I actually told Matthew to do some EVPs. I recommended him doing some EVPs, where you try to record the spirit voice, and he actually did, and he ended up actually capturing like something that kind of confirms the whole thing of what happened there. And the only bad part is that we can't really share the EVP, because the EVP is basically telling us the name of the person that was murdered there, and out of respect, we don't want to put that information out there. But yeah, dude, my mind was blown. I was like, what? And it wasn't just the first name. It was a first and last name, which just to me that's like the biggest thing ever. Because I've done a lot of EVPs, and I'll get names but just like random names that have nothing to do with anything. But to get the first last name and last name of the person that was murdered there, and then not only that, but some of the sounds that you like the stomping, it could completely make sense with what happened to the person, how the person died there and stuff. So Yeah,
Right.
so it's pretty crazy. I know.
absolutely, man.
I know. To you, probably this is normal. You know, this is like a regular Sunday because all the stuff you've experienced. But to me, it was
Yeah.
a big thing.
Oh,
Anyways, you told me.
when it first happened.
Go ahead. Sorry.
When it first happened, I mean, it did startle me because I wasn't expecting it, and it was very, very, very different. I've never really. I mean, I've heard footsteps before in my life, but not like that. That one seemed angry, and just it just didn't seem like it should have been there. But it was what I think was where it was a reoccurrence of what might have happened like before this person perished.
I see.
And so it kind of to me it seems like it was like
an echo.
Yeah, literally. So it was have it happened twice, and then hear the footsteps afterwards. It's definitely something that you don't hear very often.
Yeah. And you know what? I did have a guest here. I think it was the last guest we had, Damien Franco, and she had a thing where they would hear somebody running through the house, and what she believed also was that because they would see the spirit of a kid there. So what she believed is that this kid, I don't know if he died there or whatever, but what she believed was that this kid was going through so much stress or panic or fear that moment was kind of recorded in time, and that's what you actually hear now. Just this running because it's just that panic that the emotion was so strong that it left the residue. So, I mean, it makes sense. It makes sense what you're saying. One time I did go do a ghost hunt at this house where this lady was having activity, and she told me the activity was in the bedroom. So, I went in there, I set up a recorder and took some pictures, I put a camera to take pictures. And when I asked a certain question, I believe I asked can you tell me your name or something? And the weirdest thing happened because it sounded like you say like static electricity, but it sounded like it was coming from like the sides of the room, like into the center where I was standing, and you just hear like crackling till it gets to the point where I'm at, and I just felt like the electricity go from like my feet to my head. It was the weirdest thing. It was the weirdest thing. But,
there was one time too. Now that I remember, you said that same house back in Phoenix, and I was by myself, and at the time I was single and I had a dog and all that stuff, and
the good old days.
The good old days. I still have a wife, so don't. But the thing is I was working in industrial stuff, so I had to wear steel-toe shoes, and so my soles were pretty thick because they're non-slippery. And so when I got home, I let the dog out, and he was outside barking and all that stuff, and I was in the master bedroom, and you know how you get that feeling when something tells you to like look a certain way or to look at a certain direction. So something told me to like look to my left, so I kind of had like a tingling feeling, and I looked to my left, and there was a shadow that ran across the door, and it was very distinct because it blocked the light from the outside to where the cabinets were at and all that stuff. And the thing about it was, I got so freaked out that I actually stood up and walked out slowly, but on the ground, it was a linoleum, so there was no carpet, nothing like that. And as soon as my foot hit the linoleum in the kitchen, all my hair stood up. And and before that never happened to me ever before, and I freaked out, and I grabbed my dog and we left. And but it was a very like transparent image that I saw, and it was very distinctive, and it was probably about like 3 feet tall, give or take.
So it was transparent. It was transparent, but it still caused a shadowing to happen with the light that was coming in. Oh, that's crazy.
It was like a transparent gray. You can think of that, and it was see through. But yeah, as soon as I went into the kitchen, all my hair on my head, my body stood up, and so it was very, very. And I had just walked through there, not 5 minutes ago, and I didn't feel anything.
Yeah. You know what's funny? Talking about that. that kind of reminds me of that theory that some people believe that we're like living in multi dimensions, right? And maybe like, let's say this being you saw, he could be in his own dimension, and he's that in that dimension, that's his house, and then he sees you as something that freaks him out. He takes off running, so I don't know that. I mean,
you never know.
Who knows?
Could be. Could be.
That's cool, Matt. Well, you know what? I hope you continue to, search, keep on searching to see what this, because like I told you before, I think this spirit is trying to get something across to you. I mean, at least that's the feeling I get out of it. Like it
absolutely.
It's trying to give you some kind of information or something. So hopefully you keep on continue to do some of the EVPs. And like I said before, if you ever want to borrow some equipment, you're more than welcome to. And just keep us updated. Keep us updated to see what happens.
I will.
Yeah.
I will. Yeah, it's I pretty much do a session probably once or twice a week. And then that way it's not
overwhelming,
like, overly burdened.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just that way, nothing bad happens here, because that's all intentionally. That's all I don't want is anything bad. Like I've done sage sticks here and all that stuff. We did holy water here when we first moved in.
Mm-hmm.
And but other than that, I haven't felt anything negative in this house or.
Hey, you should buy you should buy yourself one of those at church where they have that thing that looks like a bowl with a chain, and then you're like.
Hey, don't knock until you have it, man.
Anyways, Matt, is there anything you want to plug, or any shout outs, or anything you want to mention before Nothing. I know you have an Instagram, right? You have like an Instagram about like cool looking beards and stuff, right?
Yeah, it's getting there. But yeah, I mean,
you want to share that or no?
I mean, it's cool with me. I mean, it's we can always put it in the description if you want.
Yeah, what's the name of your Instagram? Is it?
It's Matthew Chavez 9595.
Matthew Chavez 9595. All right, Matt. Well, yeah, thanks for sharing. And you know what? Hopefully we do get to do that ghost hunt soon. I know that right now with COVID, we can't really be going to your house and stuff. So maybe after this is all over, and we'll do a part 2 to this this experience here.
Yeah, I mean, there's always stuff happening here, so
yeah.
Definitely could.
Yeah. All right, Matt. Well, you know what? This is brings us to the end of this section of the video. Right now, I guess we'll be cutting off and go. You'll see Matt's gonna transform into my co-host Carlos right now. All right, Matt. All right, and we're back. Hey, I should have done the Wayne's World. The Wayne's World.
Yeah. Side to side.
Yeah. But anyways, so what did you think about Matthew's story, Carlos? I mean, it's pretty crazy, huh?
It is very, very crazy, and I can't believe that happened there at that place.
Yeah. It's crazy. To me,
Yes.
the craziest part was that how everything just happened. Like it almost, it was like it was meant to happen in a certain way. So. And it's crazy because the story that Carlos is going to share is also something very similar to what we talked about with Matthew. But anyways, Carlos, so what do you have for us today?
Well, I have a story from one of my coworkers, and this is a story of it's a haunting that took place in Wilmington, California, here in about probably the 1980s. Now, the reason why I'm going to tell this story is because my coworker's sister moved into this house. Probably about 2000s, maybe 2004, around that time. But they knew the family that previously lived there, and they knew that this person is kind of haunting this place, this house that they just moved into. So, anyways, back in the 80s, there was this man that lived in this house, and his name was Anthony. They found his name through the new owners, right? Through the old owners. So anyways, Anthony goes to around the corner to the liquor store to get something, and I believe on the way back, he is fatally shot, and he passes away. And Anthony is long gone. His mother still remained in the house from the 1980s, the 1980s, 1990s, and she decides to sell the house around the 2000s, and she sells it to my coworker's sister. It's his sister, the sister's husband, and their young child. Anyways, once they live inside this house, they started feeling this sort of sense in there that something's not right. Things start going missing. The plumbing starts shaking around, and they know that there's some sort of like ghostly figure in the house. But I believe most of this is seen by the father, which doesn't really say much, but the child also sees something there too. Maybe there's a sixth sense going on right with the kid.
Mm-hmm.
So later on, they find that their aunt is coming to stay with them. So she decides to stay there for a while. And as she gets there, she notices, or she feels, because she has this sixth sense, right? She's like a medium, that there's something going on in this house. And she starts going from room to room, room to room. And she feels that there's a spirit here in this one particular room that pops up. And what it is, it's Anthony's spirit. And when he encounters the spirit, he's holding his neck slash head like this. And he's wanting something. It's kind of like we've been talking about. These ghosts come back because they have an unfinished business, or they want to check up on us. So he's holding his neck and head, and that's pretty much where he was shot. And he asks, "Are my daughters okay? Are my daughters okay?" And I believe some time passes, or it might be in the same time frame, where the aunt comes back, and she goes into that area where the ghost was last time, and she decides to pray, and come out and say, "Hey, Anthony, you can't be here anymore. You have to move on. You know, you have to move to the other place." And he shows up, and he's there, and he's like, "You know what? You're right. I'm gonna go now. I'm gonna go," because the medium also told him that his daughters were fine, that everything was okay, and that you have to move on. So it's like, I understand. I gotta go. By the way, he mentions something similar to this. "Oh, and by the way, your radio will be found." It's like, what? So that happens, and the aunt goes away from the room, tells the family that, everything's gonna be fine now, everything's okay. And the family eventually, as things were going missing, they find their iPod, because it was missing during that whole time. They're like, "What? I can't believe you actually found this thing. It was gone for such a long while."
Mm-hmm.
And I thought it was funny.
And
that
how did they find out that? Did they end up telling the original owner what happened?
Owner knew, because that was the mother of this ghost named Anthony.
Yeah, no,
And,
but I'm saying, did your friend's family tell the owner what happened?
They know the family, so maybe they told them later on.
Okay.
Yeah, but I didn't get. It was hard getting the story because I was working and my coworker was working, and it was kind of hard to get the story. But so that's funny. I just thought it was great that he passed away in the 80s, and he was borrowing all this stuff.
When did this happen? What year did this happen?
The 1980s. He was murdered.
No, the haunting though. 2000?
The haunting was in the 2000s. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Mm-hmm. So the family that moved in there, they knew the family that lived there before. They knew the mother, and they were talking about the death of the son. They're like, "Well, yeah, his name's Anthony, and this and that." And once they got in there and they were comfortable in the house, that's when they started experiencing all this phenomenon.
Yeah.
And
yeah, that's crazy.
And
yeah, well, I mean, did your friend tell you if they still experienced anything, or it's just completely stopped after that?
House, and there might have been something else in there, but that'll be a story to tell in the future. I'm gonna talk to him and try to get the more information. But this family does have a continuation. Not this particular ghost, but other areas that they lived in right after they moved away from this house.
Oh, okay.
They actually moved into So the family, the dad, the mom, and the child, they moved to Buena Park. And once they're in Buena Park and they settled into that home, the young child starts seeing things. I guess she starts seeing another, like a ghost kid. It's like, what's going on here? So they started, yeah, they started investigating, and I guess the mom, as they're cleaning up one of the rooms, they noticed a bunch of handprints all over the walls, or maybe near the closet. So they look like little handprints. What's going on here? And again, the aunt, the medium comes, and she does another feel there. She doesn't get anything, but she does sense something going on, that or something happened in this room. So she has to leave, but she tells before she goes, if you're gonna redo this house, I know you're gonna remove this carpet. When you remove this carpet, let me know what's underneath, because that's what I'm sensing right now. So she leaves. The family starts redoing the home. They rip or cut the carpet up, and they notice a blotch, like a stain on the wood below it. Oh, we found something. There's like a discoloration, and she says, put some hydrogen peroxide on it, and they put hydrogen peroxide on it, and it started bubbling. And that usually only happens when you're dealing with, yeah, exactly, blood. So they did some investigation. I guess they went through some records or whatever it was, and they found out that in that house there was a child that was being abused. Yeah, but sadly, I don't have any more information to that story.
Oh,
but
okay.
that's pretty much what happened there.
That's crazy, man. Give me the number of that aunt.
Be nice to interview her, huh?
Yeah, that'd be cool. I mean, if she's able to see these things and, well, predict, like kind of sense things that happened there before, and even with talking with the guy, with Anthony, it's to be able to communicate with him. That's cool.
Yes, she's
cool.
Like a real life Ghostbuster. She went in there and she was praying and praying and praying for that soul, and the soul came out and said, "I gotta go," and she kept praying, and yeah, I don't know. Maybe he already realized what happened and he moved on after his goal was accomplished, right? Like knowing his daughters were okay.
Okay.
By that time, I'm sure they were full grown.
Yeah, but you know what? We are kind of. I'm starting to, and I'm pretty sure I know you've been working on stuff on your own, Carlos, and I'm starting to kind of plan out what we're gonna do for the Halloween episode. You can see I have my Halloween lights up here back here. But yeah, I want to do something maybe a little different and special, and we might even dress up, So, Carlos, technician, you're frozen. Oh, there you are. So if Carlos having some issues right now, but if you guys have any ideas on what you guys want us to dress up for Halloween, go ahead and leave a comment. Who should we come as? Beetlejuice, the Diablo. yeah. So go ahead and leave a comment. But what happened, Carlos? You gonna say something?
Oh yeah, just about a clown, whatever.
Oh yeah. But anyways, don't forget to like, share, subscribe the video, follow us on Instagram, all the good stuff. The notification bell on the YouTube thing under right here in the corner at the bottom of the video, so you guys know when the new videos come out. But yeah. Any shout outs, Carlos, or any beers you want to promote?
Shout out to my friend Edgar at work, and want to promote Brewery West.
There you go.
This is Dig My Earth Hazy Double IPA, really delicious. I'm a big fan of hazy IPA, so the breweries just opened up for outdoor drinking, so you'll probably see me at Brewery West soon.
There you go.
Right there on 22nd Street.
Go find Carlos there. Yeah, and you know what? Also, I wanna thank again Matthew for doing being a part of this episode. All right, guys. Well, thanks for watching, and as always, we'll see you guys on the next episode of San Pedro Paranormal. All right, guys. Thanks.
Thank you so much.